Evening Blaster peeps, here we have tonight the M24 Fix Install. Give you a quick how-to. It's relatively straightforward. So there's a few preparation things that we need to do to these 3D printed fixes to ensure that they're installed properly. I'll run you through the design. So this is a carbon fiber 3D print shim that myself and Josh have gone over, and we've done a few reiterations of this, and this is the final product. This actually works. What it does is got the version 1 metal upgrade, or I like to call it as a metal downgrade, with our fix becomes an upgrade. So it takes up the tolerances in between the piston and the cylinder. As you can see, we'll take this O-ring off for the interim. There we go. Piston slides inside the cylinder, and we have a lot of movement. What this does is, when you decide or want to put in a bigger spring, as you pull the handle back to cock the piston so it catches on that latch, the spring effectively pushes against this piston and goes cockeyed in the cylinder. Now, a few things can happen. People have been coming across the issue where they're unable to get the latch to attach to hold that nub or that little bump on the piston. Reason for that being is as they pull the cylinder back, the piston goes cockeyed downwards just enough for it to not latch. So a little bit of be a little bit dramatic here. So the piston goes cockeyed that way. The latch hasn't got enough purchase on that little bump to hold it back, and the piston just travels forward. What also it does is, if you're able to get the latch to hold this piston, you're unable to push the outer barrel back into place. So drop that in there. So the outer barrel cannot be pushed forward to allow for the handle to push on the release lever for the trigger, because this piston once again is cockeyed up, down, left or right, and you end up scraping the inside of this cylinder. So you can see some of the scrape marks just in through here. Good markers down at the back there. Also, because there's a lot of movement, this cylinder moves in the housing as well, and we do get a lot of rubbing through the top and the sides. There's another video that I've put up on Australian Gel Blaster enthusiasts where I have shaved down my gearbox casing just to try and give it a little bit more room. I thought that was going to fix it, but after a conversation with Tim from GBA, pointed out that the tolerances are just way out of whack. So went through a few ideas. Maybe redesigning a complete system wasn't economically viable. I then, after having a chat to Tim, raced back off to the workshop and came up with this idea. As you can see, I've got brass shim paper. So I've left this on here just to show you guys this was the $10 fix that I was talking about. So I put brass shim paper here and here, and then put a couple pieces there, there and there, and same here, there, there and there, just in a few different positions just to see if that would take up the tolerances, which it did work. It worked really well actually, just as well as these, but what the problem was the adhesive that I was using could not guarantee me reliability. So effectively, as the outer barrel, as this cylinder moved back and forth, it would rub up against the shims, and eventually the adhesive would break off and the shims would come off like that, and then they would jam up inside the barrel, taking away reliability, and it just wouldn't fire because there was an obstruction in this barrel. So we had to go back to the drawing board. I sat down with Josh and we came up with an idea of dropping shims inside these very well placed slots in the piston. So let's go and drop these shims in. I'll take this one off. Like that. I've got my razor here. Take the glue off. All right. So when you purchase this from NF Strike Gel Ball Mods, you get a few more pieces, but these are the two that we're going to concentrate on tonight. If you're wondering how to install this kit after we do this mod, I've got another video on Australian gel ball enthusiasts, gel blaster enthusiasts, so watch that. It's a very detailed video on how to get these mods into the M24, or drop a line to myself or Ben Swift. There's also an M24 page, so join up to that. That'll explain everything that we're doing with these M24s. There's a version 2 of this on the market as well. I haven't heard too many good reviews. I will swap this version 1 for a version 2 hopefully tomorrow with Bearded Dan over at GBA. If I can get my hands on a version 2, then I'll do another review and we'll see if we can drop that into one of my M24s and see how it fires. Assumably, from the information that I've been given, there is a few mods you'll have to do to it, but we'll cover that as well as we install the V2. But back to the V1 and the shim fix. So, as I said before, they're a carbon fiber filament 3D print. Now, I found it a lot easier if you're able to, and I've done it to this one already, shave off those corners there, just round them off, put a little chamfer along that edge, a little chamfer along the other edge, clean up just along here, around the rounded tips and along the other straight, just to allow that, because they are a really tight fit, just to allow that to drop in a little bit easier. They need to be a tight fit so they don't obviously pop out. Another thing that I do is a little bit of Loctite 406. What I also like to do when I use Loctite on something a little bit intricate like this is I get paperclip, the MacGyver tool, I dip it inside the bottle and then I run a bead along there with the paperclip. Just gives me more control over how much super glue I'm using. I don't get it on my fingertips, I don't get it all over the item, don't get it all over the table. Once you run a bit of glue along the edges, the easiest way that I find to drop these in is line up your round tips. So that lines up there, that lines up there, and just push down on the center. Once you drop the center in, then just work your way around until the whole shim drops in. There you go. Just like so. Once you get that in, you've got your glue there. Give it time to set. I wouldn't be too worried. Well, not that I wouldn't be. You don't have to be too worried about edges like this coming up, because we will shave off those edges. They're only there to give you a guide so that you don't push the whole shim all the way through. It'll give you a 0.3 of a mil of a shim above this cylinder. I've did some measurements on the two kits that I had. I also asked the community to send me out some measurements, and it seems like 0.3 on each side, which would give us a 0.6 shim, will cover the the Chinese quality control or lack thereof. So we drop that one in, just move around, do the same for your other three. So line up your two edges, your two round tips, and then push down on the middle, and then just work your way up and down. Like so. And then drop your third one in. So line your tips up, push down the middle, clip it in. By the time you get to the third one, I find that the Loctite has well and truly set on the other two. Get rid of some of the excess that you don't need. Like that. So once the Loctite is set, they ain't going anywhere. Also, when you drop your spring inside this, it's a snug fit, as you can hear, and it will hold that all in place. That spring is not going to move inside that piston, and it should compress and decompress pretty straight. Now, the reason why we've created a 0.06 gap is because there is very, very fine differences between every V1 kit. The quality control wasn't that great, which I've touched based on. So first things first, if you're lucky enough and this works and you drop it in and it fixes everything, then no shaving required. I highly doubt it. So as you can see, the piston's not going back into the barrel. So first thing we need to do is just shave off these tips here. Once you shave off them, as you can see, I'm getting a nice soft edge just by going back and forth with the file. And you just want to make a gradual curve on that shim. Get rid of the front section. Like I said, it's a tight fit. It's not going to go anywhere. With the application of the glue, the shim's not going to go anywhere either. And don't be afraid if you start losing strands like that, because that little lip on the side is only there for installation purposes. We will get rid of the majority of that lip. Just like so. So we're getting rid of the majority of the unneeded shim now. And we just want a nice gradual rise. So as you can see, we're just starting to shape that now. So there's a bit of a lip there still, so we'll probably come around and just go back and forth, get that nice and shallow so there's an even rise between the piston and the shim. See what we're getting there, still a bit more. Now I could cheat here and I could go back to the workshop and throw this on the lathe and machine this down. but I've always kept in mind that majority of you guys are going to be at-home modders. So by using files, you know, razor blades, paper clips, it's everything that you can use at home. So this is well and truly not without it, not out of anyone's means in regards to toolage. If I did throw this on the lathe, it would probably be done by now, and we'd have a perfect finish on it. But with what I found with all the cylinders as well, that inside here, they're all different tolerances all the way down. It's actually not one perfectly machined cylinder. So this is why sometimes doing things by hand is a lot easier than throwing it on the machine, because you're able to adjust and customize accordingly to your needs. So as you can see now, we've got a nice gradual rise on that front. We've also got a nice rounded edge here, a nice rounded edge here, and you can just run your thumb and fingers along it. Get rid of some of the dags. And as you can also see that the color change between the shim that I've worked on and the shim that I haven't worked on. Try and get it uniform, so you'll get a little bit of a haze. If you can get that haze across the whole shim, then you know you've worked the whole shim. If you find that you still get a little bit of a shiny section, especially really close to the actual piston, then just work that a little bit more. And we'll come across here. So we could sit here for the next 20-30 minutes so you guys can watch me file this down, or you can just go do those things, file every single one down, testing it as you go through. Just go through and just make sure that the piston will drop inside this cylinder with very, very, very little resistance. So you do want a little bit of resistance, because you do need to have contact between the shim and the outer barrel. Otherwise, all you've done is pretty much nothing. You haven't got any contact between the shim and here. You'll have a little bit of a gap, which will increase the movement in this piston. Once you shave all of those three down and you've got this sliding down nice and smoothly with a little bit of resistance, then yeah, she's ready to rock and roll. You guys have obviously seen Ben posting up photos and obviously my comments on what we're able to do with this kit once these shims are in. I've got it up to about 615 FPS with a good air seal. I still need to work on my air seal. It's not that reliable. I can get probably 5 or 6 mags through it at about around the 600 mark, and then it slowly depletes. I'm putting it down to the green O-ring that we're using, the nozzle as well, and the seat on the T-piece. Hey Simon, the shim, just as long as you keep it greased, it shouldn't wear that much. I mean, it is the weakest point as opposed to the metal and the 3D print, but we do want these to wear against that wearing, because these are a lot cheaper than buying a complete kit. Also, I do believe they don't make the V1 kit anymore, so these will be rare as rocking horse shit. Whether or not if the V2 kit's any better, I do not know, but I will swap this kit with Bearded Dan over GBA. We've got a high five agreement we made this afternoon. Had to beat off a lot of people to get this kit from me, which will give me the opportunity to do a review on the V2, drop it into an M24, see what we need to do to make it work, if we can make it work at all, we can go from there. So happy filing. If you've got any more questions, by all means PM me. What I might do is I might sit down and finish this off, and then I'll jump back online and show you guys the end product. And you can just see what I mean by the piston sliding down inside this barrel nice and freely, but with a little bit of friction. Otherwise we could be here for another 20-30 minutes and just watching me file these down. Like I said, any questions, PM me. If you need the kit, PM me. Even if it's any other blasters as well, more than happy to help the whole community. So thank you for your support. We'll throw some more videos online tonight. What have we got? We've got over there, a lot of people are querying me about two things really. We'll get rid of some of this so we can talk about the next few videos. So the two things I want to touch on next will be modification to the piston ladder or the piston rack against AOE, also against travel. Getting a lot of PMs in regards to pre-engagement and just pistons jamming, not really firing. Also what I want to do is go a little bit more complicated, getting a whole bunch of PMs and messages on what type of setup I use in regards to nozzles, T-pieces, how to get a good air seal between your nozzle and your T-piece. I'll run through some ideas that people are doing which aren't that successful. I'll run through some what people normally would do and why it's not a good idea to do it, and then I'll explain what I do and why I believe it's highly successful. One, because it works, but two, it just makes a lot of sense, and I'll explain why. But yeah, keep in touch. I'll file down this piston. I'll throw up another video of it working. Then we'll move on to ladder rack modification, nozzle and T-piece air seal. And yeah, we'll just keep plowing through the night. We'll also, after that video, I'll probably grab some dinner. In the process, I'll grab some O-rings. We'll run through the O-rings, what's available out there for us modders, why I use what I use, and you know, we'll run through some specs of these O-rings. So there's black O-rings, green O-rings, red O-rings, brown O-rings. It's a very well-known fact. I'm a fan of the brown O-rings, and I'll run through why. We'll also run through the retro arms gearbox. I'll have an APS gearbox, a GBA gearbox, the original jackhammer. I'll have a green future CNC gearbox and a retro arm CNC gearbox, all compare. You'll hear my opinions on every single one of those boxes, what I believe is great value for money, and we'll go from there. But thank you very much. Once again, thanks for your support. We'll keep in touch. Give me probably half an hour, and then I'll throw up another video. Thanks, guys.